Hi guys, how's everybody doing today? I haven't been on a live video in I feel like ages. So again, gym clothes, hair and gym ponytail, gym makeup that is not on my face anymore. But I wanted to take this opportunity while I had like 5 minutes before I'm gonna hop in the shower. We know this is going to turn into more than 5 minutes, but to come in, give you guys an update because it's been forever, and then pass along a lesson that I happened to learn on somebody else's video today that I thought was so good that we could kind of manipulate a little bit for SPWF, for our lives and for our relationships. Hey, Susie. So I thought like this time would be a good time because people would be home from work and relaxing, but that's weird. It seems like my lunch break hour gets more people on the live video, which is so interesting to me because that's like a work time, but we'll go with it. So first of all, quick update on Adam, on the Demaya thing. It's been a long time because there's been no movement. I told you guys it was going to be like a waiting game. So remember the last time that I was on, which was like, I think like a week or two ago, and I was saying that, maybe even more at this point, but I was saying that, something happened and I felt like the wind was knocked out of my sails. Well, what happened was the Second Circuit came in and said that the Hobbs Act, which is what Adam was sentenced under for his underlying crime, so underneath the 924Cs, that was his crime. The 924C is just an enhancement. You can't have a 924C without an underlying crime because it just means that during the crime there was a firearm on the person or they used it, etc. But it's like usually a drug deal or a carjacking or Hobbs Act, some sort of robbery, Hobbs Act robbery. So that's his underlying. Well, the Second Circuit came in and said that the Hobbs Act will always 100% be considered a crime of violence, which legally does not make sense because Hobbs Act is also like force. And I can get into the legality. Actually, I can't get into the legalities of it. Adam explained it to me the last time I saw him, but I understand it enough. Like I was saying on my other video, I understand it, but I don't understand it enough to really explain it properly. And I don't want to confuse anybody, especially people that are waiting on Demaya's and maybe have a Hobbs Act. But the whole point is they came in and said, always 100%, that is going to be violent. So Demaya will not apply because Demaya is saying that the phrase crime of violence in 924C is too vague. So now that's going to have to be like there's a whole legal process for the guy that they ruled they denied his appeal that he's going to have to go through. Now some circuits they're not agreeing, right? Adam's in the Third Circuit. So he thinks it's going to be a political thing. He thinks that now a lot of the circuits can't just come back and rule against the Second Circuit. So it's like a headache. And then this might have to go back up to the Supreme Court. So according to him, it's just a political move and it's more of just a waiting game. I mean, it's going to slow everything down. It's been like this total up and down roller coaster. I was partly joking just because like I didn't want to have a breakdown, but joking with him that ever since clemency, our lives have been up and down and up and down and up and down. I'm like, my God, you'd think I'd be better at squats with all this up and down and up and down. But like very high highs and then immediately right after it's very low lows, and it's a very exhausting and stressful way to live. And it's interesting because I literally was typing that out to him today, and then a girlfriend of mine texted me bad news about somebody very, very close to her that is basically like in hospice. And so it was like my perspective flip in the moment that I needed it. Like, this sucks, and the high highs and the low lows, and it's so depressing. And I felt myself falling into a bit of a depression. And thankfully for me, it doesn't last very long and I could pull myself out of it kind of quickly. But it was like that split second kind of like punch in the gut that I needed to get myself out of that and to not fall into it for longer. I was going to say longer than necessary, but it's never necessary to be in a depression, but to fall into it for longer than the couple of minutes until I got that text. And I was like, all right, well, at least he's not dying. At least we're taking steps, albeit slower than we want them to be. things are slowly progressing, and you never know. The Third Circuit might come back and be like, screw you guys. Who knows? Anything is possible with politics. You can't predict it. You never know what they're going to do. So you just kind of have to see how it pans out. So that's that. And that's the reason why I really haven't been back to update, is because I have not had any updates. And I've also been extremely busy with work and SPWF stuff. We're very, very, very close to the launch of our new site. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, that'll be up and running for you guys. I will keep you guys posted on that. So I want to also talk about when people come for you, and including him, because on some of our social media pages, we've had, it's kind of been like a theme the past couple weeks that some of our members are in relationships where their guys take out their frustrations and their stress on them. And it's just an unfair situation to be in. And I've made videos about this in the past where it's, it should be more of him and you against the world versus him against you because he's pissed off at the world. Because you know how they always say you take out your emotions on the person that's closest to you. But they tend to forget that it is not our fault that they're going through something. It is not our fault that they're jealous of us being out here. It is not our fault that they want us to do so, or they want to be here to do something. Like, let's say their daughter's graduating high school and you can go, but they can't go. That is not our fault. So sometimes they come for you. And so I was listening to a podcast from somebody not in the prison wife space, and I got some really good notes, because that was what her whole podcast was about that day, was when somebody comes for you. So not only when your loved one comes for you, but when you're on the internet and you're posting something and somebody comes for you, these are some really good tips, which is good because we're all on there and we all put ourselves out there. And sometimes we put out a question. Like, we had a woman the other day who she worded her question, and I thought it was such a good question. I thought that she was being so vulnerable in such a good way to get advice and to get feedback. But in the way that she worded it, some people took it the wrong way because of the way it was written. It made sense why people took it the wrong way. And it was like this, it was a misunderstanding, but it was amazing to watch. Nobody bashed her. Nobody came for her. It was really cool because of the way that the thread developed. The volunteers were watching it very closely. We thought maybe it was going to go down a bad road and we were going to have to clean it up, or maybe, shut off commenting. But everybody was so respectful. She was so respectful and mature when she was writing back. And nobody came for her. But there's been times where we put ourselves out there so vulnerably and people come for us. So the analogy that this woman used, which I thought was so good, was, I hope I say it right, because she was saying on her video, I hope I say it right, or on her podcast, I hope I say it right. So this is like secondhand and I had never heard it before, but she was saying something along the lines of like, if somebody calls you a horse once, ignore it. If somebody calls you a horse twice, look in the mirror. If somebody calls you a horse, or if a second person calls you a horse, if a third person or more than 3 people call you a horse, buy yourself a saddle. So what she was saying was, if somebody out of the blue says something to you, comes for you, comes at you, ignore them. If 2 separate people say the same thing about you, then maybe consider it. Look in the mirror. Figure out why they're coming for you. Why they're both saying the same thing about you. Maybe don't take it to heart, but start some introspection. Then if 3 or more people are saying the exact same thing about you, then you should probably consider what they're saying and really do some introspection and figure out why they're getting that impression of you. Whether it be true or not, what are you putting out there that they're getting that impression of you? So let's take that into 1, posting online, and 2, with our loved ones, because I think that that's where the lesson needs to be, especially after the past couple of weeks of things that I've seen online and things that I've heard through the grapevine about some of our members. So again, if somebody says it once, ignore them. If somebody says it 2 times, look in the mirror. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes to make sure that I hit on everything. even if, I thought this was really cool the way she said this, even if it hits a voice inside of your head, that doesn't mean that that's true. So even if somebody says something bad about you once, right? And the little doubtful voice inside your head is like, they're right. Like somebody calls you ugly and there's something inside of you that has always felt that you're ugly and you're like, they're right, I'm ugly. That doesn't mean that it's true just because one person said it about you, right? So she also said, consider the source. So is this person qualified to offer this information to you without even knowing you? So is some stranger on the internet qualified to give you this opinion, right? So is this person that's giving their opinion about a question you asked about their relationship, is it somebody like Joe? Is it somebody like me? Is it somebody who's been doing this for a long time that has members' best interests at heart? Is it somebody with volunteer or admin in front of her name? Is it somebody you see posting frequently and gives really good advice? Laura on the Invisible Shackles page gives like amazing advice. And there are so many people, I can't call every single person out by name, but there are so many people that you'll see. Or is it somebody who you see coming at everybody all the time? Is it somebody who's a chronic complainer? Is it somebody who always sees the negative in everything? Is it somebody who's very insecure? Is it somebody who wants a partner in her misery, company for her misery? Just consider the source. Consider who's giving you the advice and consider that. Is it them speaking to some doubt that is making you doubt yourself? Now, again, if 2 people are saying it, it's time to look in the mirror. If 3 or more people are saying it, it's time to really soul search and figure out. So I don't want this to get misconstrued and used as a way to keep yourself in controlling, in abusive, in hurtful situations or relationships because you're like, oh, well, Rose said that, ignore it if somebody says it on the internet. That's not what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if it's some stranger out of the blue that doesn't have any credibility or does not have a reputation of saying helpful things, positive things, it doesn't have a reputation of wanting to make this experience better for her sisters or brothers that are going through this, or break the stigma against husbands and wives and family members that are going through this, then ignore them. But if it's somebody that has some credibility, if it's somebody that truly knows you, I would take my sister's advice, even the tough love, with many more grains of salt than I would just somebody who always has crap things to say about everybody and who's jealous of my relationship. And that's going to get me to the next point. But first, let's keep going with this. So moving on to your loved one, right? If they have something negative to say, if they're coming for you or coming at you, if you're an MWI, how long have you known him? How many times have you guys talked about whatever this situation is that he's coming for you? How deep have you guys spoken? How deep have you gotten in your relationship? Does he have that credibility, although he might be your boyfriend? I mean, we have members here who are so brand new into their MWI relationships, maybe even a week or 2. And if he's coming for you that early, is he really credible enough to come for you? Probably not. I'm going to say, definitively no, although I don't know everybody's situation and there are loopholes to everything. But also, if he's been gone for a while and you knew each other before, or even if you were reunited but you knew each other before, how well does he really know you now? How well does he know you after you had to change because of this situation? After you maybe had to go into the closet, or after you maybe had to provide, or after you had to come out loud and proud so you could be the voice for both of you guys, or after maybe you found your voice by dealing with SPWF members and making friends who have helped you along the way. So is he credible even though you've known each other for a really long time, or knew each other beforehand, or were married for 20 years before this, but now you're a different person or he's a different person? Is he credible enough to come for you? Probably not. Because honestly, nobody should come for you in any relationship. However, sometimes we misinterpret. This happens to me with my husband. He tries to push me out of my comfort zone because he wants me to better myself. He wants what's best for me. I am insecure sometimes because I'm doubtful of my own abilities, or I just get depressed, or the situation gets me down. So I consider, and I'm a very highly sensitive person, so I might consider his pushing me out of my comfort zone as coming for me, although it's not. It's just me being defensive because I don't want to be pushed, because it's very comfortable to stay and play small. So know the difference between him coming for you and between him offering tough love or pushing you outside of your comfort zone. The next one is, a lot of times when people come for you, and this could be for a stranger on the internet, this could be for your best friend, this could be for your significant other, it is usually because there is, and I've talked about this so many times in the past, but it is because they are projecting something on you. They are jealous of something within you. They're jealous of what you're trying to do. They see something in you that they feel, maybe they haven't acknowledged it yet, but they feel that they lack. They see something in you that you've developed and cultivated that they want to develop and cultivate, but they can't, or they haven't yet. So instead of learning from you and being happy for you, they project jealousy onto you because, again, I just said it, it's very comfortable to play small and not put yourself out there. And we're going to get into this more on the next video, truly because I forgot my notes at work, but about building your self-esteem and your self-confidence to play bigger, especially in these types of relationships and even in your relationship. Sometimes we play small and we stay quiet because of insecurities and self-doubt. But the point for today's video is just make sure that you're not allowing somebody to come for you because they're insecure within themselves, because that's almost always why they do. As long as you're not misinterpreting, like I just said earlier, them trying to help you, trying to push you out of your comfort zone, or offering tough love, because we're not going to sit here, especially on SPWF. As you've seen recently, we've been trying really hard to get out of the situation where we're brushing things under the rug because we don't want to start issues or problems, and we are being brutally honest isn't the right word. Tough love might not even be the right word, but we're trying more to open people's eyes to things that could be abuse or situations where you should probably get out of, instead of saying, it's okay. So we break stigma, because it's not helping anybody. And I talked about that on my last video as well. But I think that's enough with that lesson. So here's another thing, right? It sounds so simple, but it's not necessarily as easy to do until we work on building self-esteem and self-confidence, which we will get into in the next video. But don't give that person the space in your life that they're trying to fill with their hurtful words and their jealousy, whether that be a stranger, especially if that's a stranger, or a friend that's being hateful, or him when he's being hurtful towards you or projecting or coming for you because he's in a situation where he feels like crap and he has no control over anything. So he's going to come for you. He's going to try to control you because you're his easiest target at this point. Don't let him fill that space. Don't give him that space. And the example that this person that I was listening to the podcast used, which I thought was amazing, she was like, she had recently lost a lot of weight. She went from like a size 24 down to a size, I think, 8. But she was saying, actually she was a 10, but she was saying she has this wrap dress that's very stretchy and it's a size 8. And she's like, yeah, you think I'm squeezing my ass into that size 8 because it makes me feel good that I'm in a size 8? Yeah. She goes, and there are those haters that could turn around and be like, but it's not really a size 8. It's a wrap dress so she could tie it looser. It's not really a size 8. It's really stretchy. So her fat ass is only really a 10 or maybe even a 12. She's pushing a size 8. Only because it's labeled wrong. She got it from a store that cuts bigger. It could be anything. She goes, and I have insecurities, so I can allow that I could either allow that to take up that space and me get in my head and say, they're right. I have those cheat days. I'm not doing enough. I really am only a 12. I could never fit into a size 8 jeans. I can only fit into a size 8 wrap dress because I could tie it looser. Or she could say, I worked my ass off. I lost 50 pounds. Yes, I have my cheat days. I deserve them. I eat clean 90% of the time. I work my tail off in the gym. I'm so proud of myself. And yeah, I'm wearing a size 8 and I'm squeezing my ass into it and I'm rocking it right now. And I'm loving this wrap dress and I feel confident. She is dictating how she feels in that dress. She's not allowing them to take up space in her life. She's not allowing them to project their negativity onto her. Why do they want to do that? Because they probably can't. This has happened to me so many times, especially with the weight and the getting in shape example, because a lot of people are too lazy to do it. A lot of people, it's hard. It takes a lot of work to get in shape. It takes a lot of work to lose weight. And I commend anybody who takes control over their life and does it. But a lot of people, like when I used to compete in fitness, I would drop a ton of weight and I'd get down to 8% body fat in a couple months, right? And then in a couple months, I'd go back to a normal size and I'd gain maybe 20 or 30 pounds. Not saying that that's healthy, but what I'm saying is I would get comments from everything from yeah, she's never going to attain that. Or I got somebody who was like, if you could do it, anybody could do it. You? And then all the way to, what happened to you? I saw you last week. You were this big. And now you're this big. I literally had somebody puff out their cheeks and say that to me. And so I think that's like that in so many areas. A lot of people do it with weight and weight loss and getting in shape because they're insecure because they can't. But a lot of people do that in relationships because they're insecure and they don't have a good one. A lot of people do that with people online because it makes them feel better to be mean to somebody, but they can't do it in real life. They have keyboard courage is what I call it. A lot of guys, you guys, on the inside do it to their significant others and their family members because, like I said before, they don't have control over anything, so they're going to control who they think they can, when they think they can. Don't give them that space. Set your boundaries, set your standards, look in the mirror and tell yourself, I am better than that. I deserve better than that. And then go from there. They just need to be put in their place a couple of times. So really quick, let's recap and then I'm going to go and I will be back in the next video with the self-confidence thing that I think is going to be really helpful for a lot of our members, especially our young girls and our ones that are dealing with controlling husbands or people that just come for them a lot. Okay, remember the analogy. If somebody calls you a horse, if one person calls you a horse, ignore it. If two people separately call you a horse, look in the mirror, start to wonder. If 3 or more separate people call you a horse, buy yourself a saddle. What that means is if one person comes for you, ignore them. If 2 people come for you about the same thing, start looking in the mirror and figuring out what am I putting out there that these people are seeing this about me? If 3 separate people or more come for you or call you the same name or make the same accusation, then it's time for a lot of introspection and figuring out what you're putting out there and why these people are having this perception of you. And if it's something that you don't like, figuring out how to change it. That's it. If it's him, make sure that you put him in his place. Make sure that you that he's qualified to say these types of things to you. If it's an MWI situation where you just met him a couple weeks ago, bye-bye. If it's somebody who you've known for 20 years, but he doesn't know the person you are now because he's been gone for so long, time to have a conversation. Be very firm. And if it's somebody who's coming for you because they're jealous, they lack something within them, keep it moving. Okay, so I think that's it. I hope I made sense. I hope I used her analogy the proper way. Or her cliche. It's not really an analogy. But you guys keep staying strong. Keep loving strong. Keep supporting one another through this journey. because you're one day closer to it all being over. Lots of love from my heart to yours. I will see you guys in the next one. I will give you any updates that I can about Adam and what's going on in his situation. Again, it's a waiting game. It kind of, I think that maybe I should save this. Thanks, honey. Maybe I should save this thought for the next video, but I'll throw it out real quick and then we'll elaborate on the next video. But I'm like, you know what? That it makes me so sad that if potentially the government takes this away from us or slams the door on all of us, or just slows it down dramatically because they want to keep that control and keep people inside and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, ugh, it would make me so embarrassed. First of all, it would be heartbreaking for the most obvious reason. But then I'm like, oh my God, it's so heartbreaking and embarrassing to have to come back and explain to everybody. I got so excited. I got everybody so excited for us, for their own situations if they could qualify, and then have to, the analogy that I'm thinking, and I apologize, I hope this doesn't trigger anybody, but the reason why you wait 12 weeks or till you get out of the first trimester before you tell somebody you're pregnant. You know what I mean? That same situation, because you don't want to have to go back and undo it if something bad happens. You don't want to have to go back and retell the story a million times over that it didn't work out. And that's the way that I feel right now. I'm not saying it's not going to work out, and I'm not saying that, I'm going to have to come back and undo it, but those are the thought processes that go through my mind. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I will elaborate more on the next video because it has a lot to do with, there's a little lesson in there for everybody. That's just in my situation, the specifics, on how to build self-confidence and self-esteem is, not worrying about what other people think, but that's we're going to get into that way, way, way more deeply. Okay. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.